Good afternoon, everyone. Such a wonderful day today here in beautiful Canada. Currently 21 degrees Celsius, shorts and t-shirt weather. So it's a beautiful day to be above ground. I'm just here driving and thinking, and I said, this is such a beautiful country, but I wish there were some things that persons would have told me prior to me migrating here. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a wonderful country, a good place to live, and I 100% would recommend persons thinking about migrating to consider Canada. But there are just some things that you need to be mindful of before making that move. Now, the two main things that I want to talk about, um, like with any migration, any major move that someone would be thinking about from one country to another, there are two main things that the majority of persons would need to consider or to have sorted out to have a comfortable life in that new space. So the two things, in my opinion, would be one, a job, and two, a place to live, accommodations. Right? Now, these two things, um, sounding relatively simple, but they're a bit more tricky than meets the eye. So, I know when I was thinking about migrating, one of the things that I was looking for was like, in my current field, I would have been searching for similar jobs here in Canada. And what I can tell you, when you sign up for like those job sites like Indeed, Glassdoor, etc., and you have your daily alerts, like almost every day you would see like 30 jobs, no exaggeration. And like you're thinking to yourself, man, job dash way in Canada. But even though there are a lot of jobs available, there are certain caveats that you need to be mindful of as a new immigrant coming to the country. So I'll touch on the jobs a bit later. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, of course, would be accommodations. Now, a lot of persons from the Caribbean, of course, would have relatives in like your first world country, your Canadas, your USAs, your England. A lot of persons have family there. So if you're one of those persons, then you're in the luckier few because if you have that opportunity to stay with family members in the initial stages when you've migrated, then that is a plus. And I'll tell you why a little bit earlier. So let's jump back now in a little bit more detail with the job aspect of things. Now, I mentioned earlier that when I was doing my research, you punch in your job and you're searching and you see these jobs all over the place in your field and you're thinking to yourself, man, once you reach and you apply, then within a few weeks or so you should be doing your dream job. Well, that's not exactly the case. And one of the main reasons why is there's this thing called Canadian experience. Now, it's a bit like the chicken and the egg, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, because you need a job to get the Canadian experience, but at the same time, you need the Canadian experience to get a job. Now, this is a major hurdle that a lot of persons encounter when they migrate to Canada. I'm not sure about the US if it's the same thing, but I can talk about Canada, my personal experience and the experience of some of my friends. Um, so, for some, it was a seamless transition. You leave Jamaica, you come here, and you basically get a similar job to what you're doing there, and seamless. Whereas for some, it may take 2 months, 3 months, Some persons, it may be years. So you have to have that mindset to say, all right, you may not necessarily get the same job that you are doing in your country um, right away. So you have to be open to doing jobs outside of your comfort zone. There's a manufacturing, the manufacturing industry is big here in Canada. So you're more than likely will be able to find something to get started in the manufacturing or the supply chain industries. So you just have to have that open mind to say, hey, you know what? You may not necessarily get the job that you're looking for, but rest assured you should be able to land a job, but not necessarily one in your field right away. Right? Good. So how I overcome that initial hurdle with the whole Canadian experience. Now my neighbor, who I was work, who my neighbor, they took me in to their job. It was also a job in the manufacturing industry, right? So they basically took me in one day, said to the boss, "Hey, I have a guy here," and I got hired on the spot, right? So I was able to start earning because, trust me, um, it it's a bit expensive, rent and utilities and certain other little day-to-day expenses. It can really add up really quickly, especially when you're new here and you're not earning. So the little savings that you may walk with before long, you may find out it's fast depleted. So you have to, get something to at least kind of plug that gap a bit, right? So as I said, my neighbor took me in. I got hired on the spot, and I was able to start doing um, a work and getting that much needed Canadian experience. Now, while I was doing this work, of course, in the evenings when I get home or before I go to work, I'm still looking for stuff along my lines in my field, um, and listening out for calls or interview opportunities for jobs within my field. So luckily for me, within 3 months of working in the manufacturing industry, I got a call from a recruiter who informed me that I had an interview in the next few days. Prepared for the interview, and the interview went well, and I was able to land something in my field. And of course, Father God Himself had a hand in that. And so, all praises is due unto the Most High for blessing me in that way. Because I know a lot of persons come and they still haven't gotten that opportunity as yet, right? So that was hurdle one. And I wish persons would have told me that, even though you see the vast amount of jobs on being available or for offer on these websites, it's not so easy to land them because, of course, you apply, you're not necessarily going to be getting a call for an interview. And if you do get an interview, then the other hurdle that you have to overcome is the whole Canadian experience. So that was obstacle one um, as it relates to uh, finding a job when you move to a new country, specifically in this case, Canada. Now, the other obstacle, of course, is accommodation. Now, if you don't have family or friends that you're able to stay with, this can prove challenging. And the main reason for that is because renters, they're looking for persons with a good credit history and a job letter. Two are the main requirements to rent here in Canada. So of course, you're a new immigrant to this country. Um, Depending on the country you're coming from, you may or may not have credit history. But I know specifically for Jamaica, that's not something that was in place when I was there. I'm not sure about now. I doubt it, but nonetheless, credit history is something that the renters look for before they rent their property. Now, of course, as you can imagine, the credit history is required because it tells the renter that, yeah, this person is good at paying paying back debts or paying their bills or whatever the case may be. So that's a good indication to a renter that yes, I can rent my place to this person because if they have a good credit, it stands to reason that they are more likely to pay their rent in full and on time. Now, the second thing that the renters look for is a job letter. Now, again, you're new to the country, you don't have a job yet, so of course you don't have a job letter. So, you have to get a job before you can get the place to rent. So, that's another major hurdle that I wish persons would have told me that hey, when you're renting, they're going to need those two critical pieces of information from you. And of course, being new to the country, you don't have a credit history, you don't have a job letter, so of course that's going to be a challenge. Now, for me personally, how I overcame that hurdle, I was lucky to have a good friend who was able to put me up for a few weeks, right? And I mean, again, similar to the whole job thing, you look on the renting websites like View It and Kijiji and those other sites, and you see a lot of apartments available. But then whenever you call, it's either no vacancy. I guess when they hear your voice, they realize that maybe you're an immigrant. So automatically, even though on the website it says available, then no, it's no vacancy. Uh, Also, sometimes when you even turn up to the places, even when the vacancy site is outside, whenever you turn up, for whatever reason, um, the renters say no vacancy when they see you in person. Now, I mean, there are several theories surrounding that. Chief among them would be some sort of uh, racism as it relates to, of course, the color of your skin. Uh, I don't disbelieve that. It's quite possible. I mean, I've had experiences where I've called places and they've said, yes, there's availability. And when I go, like within the same day, and I turn up, and for whatever reason, it's no longer available. So, you know, it is what it is. Um, so, those are some things that I wish persons told me. And I am sharing that with you so that you can be mindful of those hurdles that you have to overcome. And if possible, and you can make preparations in advance of coming to Canada to overcome these hurdles, then that is definitely a plus on your side because when you come here, trust me, it's not good to be looking to overcome or putting things in place at that time because you'll have so many other things to be dealing with at that time. So again, just a quick thought. It came across my mind. Again, I wish someone had told me this. So I said, you know what? Let me share this information with you so that you are better prepared for your journey to migrate from your country to Canada. So until next time, thank you for staying with me on my journey here, for keeping my company, and we'll talk again soon. So until the next time, take care, stay safe. All right? Cool.